Next on our agenda this afternoon comes the presentation Leading the Textile Value Chain to Sustainable Materials by Rene Bethmann, Innovation Manager at Vaude, Germany.
Hello. So, we know that our industry seems to be the most polluting industry in the world, one of the most polluting industry, but I would like also to show you some possibilities, some approaches we have to go a bit more sustainable in our entire value chain. So we all know we have those sustainable drivers. You are very familiar with those. Yes, it's not only about the prices, it's also about the perception of the consumer and the perception of our industry. Also the prices, which are also going up and down for the oil prices. And in the end, it just leads us at Vaude to one outcome, and that is actually to reduce our dependency on fossil resources. In fact, we need to find a way to get out from the fossil resources we are right now consuming, and also providing kind of a lighthouse example how we can do better, and also being maybe then a best practice example for other industries. So, but first, what does sustainability actually mean in textile? So, in fact, a lot of people talking about when something should be now very sustainable in the textile, it needs to be biodegradable, it needs to be recycled, it needs to be bio-based. But in fact, don't forget about that. First of all, especially in an industry where we're doing durable products and also products which just fulfill like a function of a user expectation, it's important that they are durable and not disposable. So that's very important. So there are, of course, industries and applications where disposable fabrics are really important and really are necessary. But for us, actually not really. So important is here also to slow down the rate of clothes that are used and just thrown away. And also looking on repairability, that to design products which are easier in the end to repair and to replace some broken parts instead of just throwing it away. So where I was coming up was in the end with the topic of emotional durability. As you all know, the stuff what you love, you're keeping it and you're also taking care of it. So you're not throwing it away that easily. And also this brings us to those motives where I, frankly speaking, think that the emotional motives are really important and also should be always in the focus and not only the practical motives. So in the end, it's a combination of all those three pillars you have. We all know that to going more sustainable, especially on the materials, it's very expensive, and it's of course also for us, it's like the biggest hurdle we have. So if we would not have this price discussion, we could go much faster than we are going already. But of course, that's still the big problem we're all dealing with, because in the end of all, we all need to make money somehow, and we also need to get our salaries. So when we're looking now on the basic textile chain we're having here for us, it's the raw material supplier and the manufacturer and the brand, which is in between the raw product, like a renewable product or like a recycled feedstock, until the final end product. So we got a lot of challenges here, definitely. We got on the raw materials side, we got the availability of new nice materials, also very sustainable materials. So, and we got also small production runs, so it's not like a continuous production always on those new materials. A manufacturer actually is also complaining a lot that he needs to adjust the parameters actually to get the machines running on those new materials, and it's just a small volume, so he always thinks about, all right, it's not really feasible on the economical way. And for us as a brand, of course, we have a very price-driven market, and we got seasonal orders, so also the trends are also varying a bit about stuff we're producing. But of course, there are also some kind of opportunities we have actually. So it's of course a stability. I would not calling it. Yeah, I would calling it the stability of the price versus fossil resources like crude oil. So we see right now a good example for the hexamethylenediamine. The prices are just exploded in the last year. So for all of you who are not familiar with hexamethylenediamine, that's one ingredient of the polyamide 6,6. So also here the prices are going really high up actually right now, and also that's difficult for us to forecast how it will be in the next years going. So the bio-based feedstocks and also some of the recycled feedstocks are a bit more stable. And also for the manufacturer side, often it's of course kind of a risk to bring in new materials into this production process. But often it just requires a few additional costs, because in fact often just some parameters needs to be changed on the end. And for us as a brand, of course, we got the customer demand. We have the customer demand to go green. So the situation, as I mentioned before a bit, it's about a clear market pull actually for green synthetics from brands. And the volumes are not there yet. So what can we do? So we can just looking here and also investing on a very long-term perspective, and just in the beginning building up small volumes, small batches, just to making just some trials, because you just need a starting point. You cannot have the perfect product at the beginning. You need to go there to the perfect product, and that's the way. Again, to the challenges we have here definitely is the communication, because so many people are talking about what is the preferred fabric, what is the preferred sustainable fabric. And it's very difficult to answer, because you need to see here the holistic perspective, not just only the beginning of life perspective, also the end of life perspective. So what happens with my material when it's at the end of its life? So what I'm going to do with it, actually. Then, of course, the availability. So, of course, if all those new, nice, super green preferred materials would be available on the market, we would not have all those discussions right now, because we just can implement them pretty easy. So, and then it's the economy of scale, which means maybe there are some materials which are pretty interesting, but on the lab scale it's working fine, but to scaling it up on a commercial, industrial level, it's very difficult. And also here, that's a big challenge. And again, comes in the price here, which also remain here. We need to see what are the possibilities, how we can tackle this issue with a price, how can we combine investments all together with maybe more stakeholders than just one single company. The opportunities, on the other hand, of course, we have a good message here, going away from fossil resources, and also have the possibility to source a bit our feedstock locally. So actually there where we might produce in future, where maybe also the market is for our end consumer. So we got more independency here of getting our feedstock. Then, of course, with some brand new materials, especially in the bio-based area, we can also get new properties. And that's also the reason why a lot of those bio-based polyamides, for example, those new polyamide types, which are used actually now in the industry, not because they are green or sustainable, no, because they got special properties, actually. That's why they've been used in the automotive industry, for example, a lot. So, and then it's the storytelling, which is of course important for the customer, because for the customer, first, to have a price increase on a product just because it's green, it's not enough anymore. So you need to tell a story, actually. You need to tell also the story where your feedstock is coming from. And that's also important to build on here. And then we have clear the customer demand. And the customer is demanding here that we as an industry needs to change. Important here is to have a vision in mind. That's really important. So what I think the vision here, looking here in a circular economy, you're getting a renewable feedstock in the very beginning of a life, going to the production, and even in the best case, this renewable feedstock can absorb CO2. And then, of course, you're having the conventional manufacturing process, you're having the product and the uses of the product, and at the end of life, you're coming here to the recycling. And here, of course, also the vision should be you can recycle infinitely. There will be like a point where it's not possible anymore to recycle your product, because it's not really like a circle system. In the end, it's like a spiral system. So at one point, it doesn't make any sense to recycle anymore, also from the economic perspective. So then you're ending up with collecting those and still having like a usage for it, like incineration, to also gain the energy. So the energy value out from the material you can also use, or what is brand new out there is also from the CO2 emissions. You also can collect those and transform them into new polymers, but that's actually like also what will come hopefully in future more. So to get this, actually, we need a collective approach to also supply chain. We cannot lead anymore, or we cannot talk only to our first supplier, so to our direct supplier, like in our case, just a fabric supplier. We need to get in touch with also the chemical industry, with the feedstock suppliers, to understand also the problems and the challenges a bit better, and also to move forward. And of course, we need the research here, the institutes, the universities, to also help us along. So one good example here to provide you with is the Effective project we are part of. So that's a European project, so granted and funded by the European Commission. And in this project, we're having 12 different industry partners from whole Europe. And the duration is 4 years. So recently, we just had the third project consortium meeting close by here in Zaragoza as a partner. And so the aim is actually here, what we want to achieve with it is to develop the world's first 100% bio-based polyamide 6 out from locally sourced sustainable feedstocks, which is, I think, pretty ambitious. And we also have a really clear aim. We want to make it commercially available. We want to make it commercially happen. And that's a clear aim in the project. So who we are actually in this project, and that's also a nice thing. We got different companies from different kind of areas, and starting here with Südzucker as the world's largest sugar producer, we got a feedstock supplier in. We got Genomedica from the US, a biotech company who's making the fermentation of those sugars into plastic monomers, so synthetic monomers, helping us here. We got Aquafil as a project coordinator and Novamon as monomer and polymer companies, and also as the spinning companies who can do actually a polymerization of those new monomers into like yarn. And we have Incavico as a fabric supplier here from Italy, who's providing us with a final fabric. And we got us and also Vaude and also H&M as the brand owners who also can make then the final product. And along this, we're having also Thirse and Lifecycle Engineering who doing then also the whole life cycle assessment across the entire value chain to also guarantee that we're having here a more sustainable product. So the approach actually is to going circular from the beginning of life, like renewable feedstock, until also the end of life, which is then also going here into the already existing recycling system with EcoNeil from Aquafil to have in the end the same properties as for the existing polyamide 6, so it can go in the same recycling systems like we know them, and like they also will be more and more pushed in future. So, as a summary and some takeaways, so right now it's the time to act. We got the pressure actually from everyone. We got it from customer, we got it from NGOs. So we need to start small in the beginning in order to go big. In the end, to have a feasible economical output. We got some opportunities on the green materials. And also, we need to keep the vision we have, the circular vision. We always need to keep it in mind. And we're always thinking about the beginning of life and the end of life perspective on materials and of our products. And so the bio-based drop-ins, like the 100% bio-based polyamide 6, they are on the way. And we only can achieve this if we're having a collective approach throughout the entire value chain. Thank you.